Dow is up 0.40%, Nasdaq up 2%, S&P going up 1%, and Russell also going up almost 1%, 0.96%. And here's 11 sectors that makes up S&P 500. On top, we got communication services leading the way, and that is because of Google. Technology also on top, consumer cyclical, basic materials, real estate, healthcare, industrials, and in the red for the week, utilities, energy, and financial. Week to date performance here on top, leading the way, technology, communication services, consumer cyclical, industrials, consumer defensive, utilities. On bottom, we got basic materials, financial, energy, and healthcare. And what we got here on stock market map, Tesla going down just over 11%, Amazon going up 3.43%, Meta going up 0.43%, and Google with earnings double beat and buyback and dividends going up 10% almost for the day. But on a day like Friday, Apple going down actually 0.35%. Microsoft with double beat on earnings going up 1.82%, and this thing was up over 5%, gave away some of the gains and now up 1.82%. Now the showstopper and the biggest reason why this market is up is right here. Last Friday it was down 10% in Nvidia stock, but this week just alone Friday up over 6%, massive rally to the upside. And then we got some earnings from energy sector like XOM and Chevron. XOM going down almost 3% and Chevron staying flat or slightly up in the green, 0.37%. So before we get started, I just want to show you guys what's coming next week, and that's going to cause lots of volatility here in this market. And not even gonna talk about these events on Monday and then Tuesday, but especially right here, guys, we do have FOMC going into Wednesday, and not to mention, look at this, we do have big earnings coming up next week. We got earnings from Amazon, big name. We got also SMCI. It's not a big name, but it's moving really big, so it's going to cause some volatility here. And then we got 3M right here. And then on Thursday, what we got? Apple releasing earnings. But also in between, you can see right here, big names like Qcom, Pfizer reporting earnings. So that's going to cause lots of volatility here in this market. And then on top of that, we also have Jay Powell coming out and speaking on Wednesday. We do have that FOMC. So this week, it's going to be a jam-packed week. You need to watch how the market moves. We might be going higher, or market could be setting up a lower high and then we can continue lower. On SPY ETF, it's up 0.95%, and look at this push from bulls gapping over resistant trend line, this down trend line right here, and getting up to almost 510, but it was not able to hold 509 as a support and not able to break above 20-day moving average right here. Look at this, guys. It's a negative slope sitting really close to 510. So I would say going into next week, we might see another gap over this resistance right here. And if that's out, then definitely it's clear the trend is up and we're going higher again. Now also keep that in mind. Anything below, I would say 510 to 512, we can set up a weekly lower high right here and then can continue all the way down here, possibly down to this low, and then even this gap down here, 489.23. Now here's another thing, guys. On daily time frame, things are looking good, at least in the short term. So what we got? Low, a higher low, higher high, and now we might be coming back, pulling back all the way down to this gap, and that will be still a higher low, and then we can still break out from this downtrend and can push even higher. But also that all depends on earnings and that FOMC meeting that is happening on Wednesday. We can still put in a lower high somewhere here, 510 to 512, and things can push even lower. So we're not completely out of the woods yet. That is just one day gapping over this resistant trend line right here and getting up to 20-day moving average, getting a rejection at the last minute and not even holding 509. So going into next week, critical level to watch to the upside, and we might get that breakout, and that's gonna be 509 to 510 right here. These two moving averages. If we can clear that, then things are going to push even higher, possibly up to this high right here, and that is like 515 to 517. Now to the downside, guys. If we get a rejection from here, maybe it actually pushes a little bit higher up to even 512, and then we get a rejection, and this was a fake breakout. You will see SPY ETF pulling back all the way down to right here, close to 505 to close this gap. And we do have now strong support, this trend line, and also 5-day moving average moving up, which is going to be sitting really close to 505 on Monday. Now, SPY ETF breaks under that level. We also have support down here at 503 and then going down to 500, possibly down to 495, 493, and then this gap just below 490. And here's my X account, and if you guys are on there, definitely give me a follow. And there is no subscription, nothing here on X. It's totally free, and you can always ask me a question if you have right here on X. And here's some fantastic plays from last week. Friday I actually did nothing. This was Thursday. We got a big dip on Amazon. I was actually willing to buy Amazon at 169, but right at opening Amazon came down to 167, and that was it. Got into Amazon, and within 10 minutes, this was a beautiful setup here on Amazon. This thing went through the roof, and on Friday, guys, 180 plus. So all these trade ideas are available on Patreon, and especially if you want to support the channel, check out their link down below in the description. On QQQ, it's up 1.54%, and if you look at my screen, white line, 20-day moving average, negative slope right here, sitting at 433, and what we got? Getting really close to 433, 432, and getting a rejection at the end, and now trading at 431 into closing on Friday. So this is gonna be key level to watch. So far we have seen, indices and also stock like Nvidia, if it actually cannot take out a resistance to the upside, next morning we gap over it, right? And that is the biggest manipulation here in this market. We are getting like 5% pullback, and guess what, guys? Immediately there is a big bounce to the upside. Now, I'm not against this bounce because things were oversold, and you guys saw that video. Do not short into that hole, and please don't short this. There was another video that came out before that saying that big bounce is coming, and we definitely got a big bounce off of these lows right here, and now it's heading higher. Now, are we going to see trend continuation to the downside? Possible with FOMC and earnings from Apple and Amazon. That can happen, right? So going into next week, above 432 to 433, QQQ can clear that or gaps over that level, then watch out for a move all the way up to 437, 50-day moving average, and then 440. Now to the downside, below 433, watch out. This is going to be a strong support to watch. 428.76, I would say 429. 13-day moving average, which is not rising. It's actually coming down. So that is a negative slope. That's going to be a support to watch right here. Below that, we got this gap at 425. But 425 gives up. And especially if this thing pulls back and we take out this low down here, guys. That is it. And that is like what? 417, 418. This candle, we take out this low. Market will definitely go down even more, down to 413 right here. And then below that, we also have this gap at 407.59. And if you look at this weekly time frame, even if we get a pullback all the way down here, like 405 to 403, previous all-time highs, that is totally healthy pullback and nothing wrong with that. So watch out. We do have lots of data coming out, and then on top of that, we got FOMC and earnings from Apple and Amazon, and that's going to cause lots of big volatility here in this market, up, down, all over the place, just like we saw last week. On DIA, it's up 0.36%, and DIA barely going up to 384, getting a rejection and now coming back and holding negative sloping 13-day moving average 381. So that's going to be your line in the sand for Monday, 381. Below that, you're going to see a drop down to 378 and then 376 down to even lower Bollinger Band 373.72. Now DIA can clear and hold 384. Things will change. You're going to see more upside all the way up to 388 50-day moving average. And once we got up to 388, that's going to be a big breakout and possibly DIA coming back to all-time highs again, or at least closing this gap right here on top just below 395. On IWM, it's up 0.96%, so IWM holding above 198, and this was a big push to the downside on Thursday, but this thing recovered and now again holding 198. Now, are we going to see possibly small caps going up a little bit higher? Well, volume definitely not supporting that, guys. I mean, look at the volume here on Friday. So I don't know where this thing can go from here, but definitely it needs to hold 198 as a support right here going into Monday's session. Below that, it's going to come down all the way down to 196, 193, and then possibly down to even 188. Now, IWM can hold right here 198, then watch out for a move possibly up to negative sloping 20-day moving average, and that is sitting really close to 200, and above 200 more upside up to 202.36 to retest 50-day moving average, and then this gap just below 205. So the dollar going up 0.47% on Friday, and where we saw the market also going up, all the indices, especially Nasdaq 100 and S&P 500, and the dollar staying green. So I always say this, guys, that who's lying, right? It could be the dollar or the market itself, and we will find out next week. We do have, just like you saw right here, consolidating, contracting, and then massive breakout with a massive bullish engulfing candle. Again, consolidating, contracting, and then massive bullish engulfing candle, follow through, and now what's happening, guys? Another bull flag, contracting. Are we going to see another massive explosion? Everything is supporting that. And how? Look at this Bollinger Band on top on this daily time frame sitting at 107. So now that it's holding 106, definitely can push all the way up to 107 and possibly even higher. Now below 106, we also have support at 105.87 and then 105 down here, 104.48. And I think we will all find out next week who's lying. Is it the dollar? This is actually a fake bull flag. It's not going to play out, or the market itself lying to us and just making another new lower high before we actually go down to make a new low. On VIX is down 2.21% and holding at critical support on Friday, 15 bucks. Now this was the breakout zone, and you can see it came back a few times. It was holding right here and now coming back and holding 15. So this is where do or die situation on VIX. It needs to get a bounce from this level 15. Also needs to get above 1580. 5-day moving average, I would say 16 would be the ideal level to watch. If this thing can actually go back up and hold 16 bucks, you're going to see more continuation to the upside. And as a matter of fact, look at on Thursday how this thing came down and then a big spike almost up to 18 bucks. But of course, on Friday sold off and now holding 15. So VIX can stay above 16 and can hold 15. You're going to see 18 to 20 again on VIX. Below 15, guys, watch out. This thing can dump all the way down to this gap, which is near 13 bucks.